Hello everyone. Today we will talk about 10 latest Salesforce Flow features in Winter 24. So let's get started. So first feature what we have, it's a custom errors in the flow, right? So what it's allowing us to do, it's allowing us to build some kind of analog of the validation rule, right? Where we could validate fields related to our object with which we are working in the flow, right? And it's providing us possibility to display inline errors or window errors, right, related to the specific field, and it's allowing us to specify, let's say, error message, right, the way how it will look like when we will apply it on the custom, let's say, screen flow. You could see it's the following, right, when the field amount is not set, so it's translates that specific errors that we just set for it just in line with that field. So now we have a possibility for us to build, let's say, our own validation rules for the fields directly in our screen flow. So next topic is related for us to have a possibility to save our flow without configurations for some elements, right? So at this moment in the current world we have a situation when it's necessary for us, when we're doing some modifications for the flow, right, we need to finish setup of some elements in the flow, right? But now what we have is we have a possibility to create, let's say, a drafts, right, for some elements, and those drafts we will be able to finalize later, right? So in that case we will have a time for us to just save it as a draft and then come back and update that specific flow with necessary data. So next element, which is interesting one, it's a possibility for us to enable users to map a data between the actual source and new target data location, and that screen show actually show us, like how we could connect them between each other. So in addition to that, we have a possibility to connect them via the formula. So let's imagine that we have this target, right, and here we have that field name. So it's opportunity, and we have this data source, right, which is a lead object. So that means that, for example, if we need to populate an opportunity field based on some information from lead, right, we could create that formula, and in the formula it could be combination of name, type, and product from the lead, right, and it will be resolved into the opportunity name. So next element is related to actually to UI, right? So so at this moment, this sidebar, let's say, flyover will showing up, right? And at this moment we already have, let's say, models, right? So it will replace it with this via a similar manner how it was done in the process builder. And at this moment it only applies for the certain elements like it start, transform, create, update, get, and delete. So next one is related to flow triggers explorer filtration. And here we have now this symbol, right, this icon where we could click and filter our record triggered flows, right, via some specific, let's say, items. For example, is it active or not, is it from package or not, is it orchestration or is it as a regular flow? So we could do so. Also, it was mentioned that now we could use reactive flow components. So they are now generally available. So previously, I think it was mentioned somewhere here that they were in the pilot version prior to it. And now this is officially available. So next item which is available here, it's a possibility for us to, let's say, do different kind of requests. So at this moment we could do get, post, put, patch, delete from the flow, right? So here is the section, new HTTP callout, and we could actually configure what kind of, let's say, method, URL, and all other parameters we need to use for that specific call. So next one is related to data cloud. So at this moment we have a new data cloud triggered flow, right, which is at this moment will fire when there will be any kind of changes to data within data cloud. So we now could run it like this. So for those who have access to data cloud, you will be able to create a new data cloud triggered flow. The new screen flow. After selecting data cloud triggered flow, you will be prompted to configure the start element with the conditions that are required for that flow to fire as below. Right, so when we will configure it, we will mark it what is the data space, right, what is the object, what is the record conditions when the record is created. All right. So also we have updates related to the wait element to replace pause. So at this moment, let's say we have this pause element in the flow, right? And now we will have this wait for condition, wait for amount of time, and when and wait until date, right? So it's helping us at this moment to let's say specify a specific period of time in minutes, hours, or days or months before continuing for our flow to work, right? So finally, this wait until date is similar to wait amount of time, right? But allow us to specify the exact date field, right? On which the flow automation will continue. So it's, let's say, very interesting functionality where we could do some mechanism, right? If at this moment, for example, we are mostly using scheduled pass in the record triggered flow, and when we specify that specific pass to execute some logic some minutes after or some minutes prior to the specific date, right? But also we have that specific option as well available in the flow. So let's say it's really dependent on your design, right, and your approach, which one of them will be better in your specific use case. So then, as it was mentioned last but not least, in Winter 24 bring about a new resource selection method for the create element. Instead of having to dig around a date menu that is difficult to use in a large flows, you now have a tighter interface that includes and responsive breadcrumbs that let you group your resources by selection and navigating through a nested menu of them. In addition, recognizable icons are displayed within the menu. Alright, so it's let's say another UI sugar, right, which will help us when we will work with the flow. So this is it in terms of this specific article, which is, like I found as interesting for me. So thank you guys for the attention.